Hi everybody, how you doing? We'll start here. I'm Sean Anstey. I'm the CEO of LQwD FinTech Corp, LQWD on the Toronto Venture Exchange, LQWDF on the OTCQB, and we are a Bitcoin Lightning Network company. Now, before we get into what we do as a Bitcoin Lightning Network company, I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin. I've personally been in the space since 2012, members of my team even earlier. We've had other successful companies within the space and public markets. We'll talk a little bit about what Bitcoin is and why it's so important and why the Lightning Network is going to be very revolutionary for the Lightning Network. So Bitcoin, you've got lots of press on it these days. We have a lot of talk about what it is, what it isn't. And when I give lectures and talks, I've given talks in New York and UCLA and other places, and we usually ask the question, the very simple question that has to be asked, which is, what is Bitcoin? What is it? And we usually get the usual answers. Oh, it's a payment network, it's a value transfer system, it's a commodity, it's what have you. And effectively, all those answers are correct in some way, but ultimately they're wrong. Though what Bitcoin actually is a trust protocol and an extension of the internet itself and a continuation of the revolution of the internet. And so its impact on the world will not just be money. Money will be the massive first use case, like email was the first use case in the 90s of the internet at that point. But the Bitcoin itself will change how trust is done as a trust protocol, and money is that great use case. Now, the Lightning Network itself, before we get into the presentation, the Lightning Network actually solves one of Bitcoin's big problems, which is Bitcoin is very safe, very secure, it's global in scope, but it takes 10 minutes for a transaction on average. Where the Lightning Network comes in there and with a series of nodes all around the world running the open source Lightning Network software and creating payment channels allows you to send Bitcoin within seconds for minimal fees and is scalable into 40 million transactions a second and climbing and beyond. It is a true catalyst moving forward, and within the industry itself, we have major players coming in there, such as Jack Dorsey's Block, who are all over Lightning Network. We have Robinhood themselves integrating Lightning Network. One of the key companies in the space just raised 70 million as a Series B. It is the next big phase for Bitcoin, and you're going to hear a lot more about it over the coming 18 months. All right, so to that end, we are what is known as a Lightning Network infrastructure provider, or an LSP. We make it very easy for companies to get onto the Lightning Network. We provide liquidity. So what is an LSP? An LSP is very similar to an ISP, where it makes it very easy for you to get on the internet. But we solve the issue for customers to get on there or their platform as a service. And we have what they call nodes and channels that are around the world, where we actually help transact and we earn fees off of the network in Bitcoin. We'll get into that in just a second here. So, as mentioned at the start here, one of the issues for Bitcoin is it's very secure but very slow. And one of the criticisms that Visa's private network is much faster. Well, now the Bitcoin Lightning Network, it's been around for 4 or 5 years and climbing to the next phase, is into the millions of transactions per second, is being adopted rapidly by nation states and by other wallet providers and exchanges worldwide. And so it's coming very quickly. And within that network, there are fees to be earned, and that's what we're after, and our fees are earned in Bitcoin. So the world is continuing to talk about it. You are going to hear more and more about Lightning Network itself coming up. It is an extension, a continuation of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin narrative all over the news. It's the thing that is either misunderstood or not understood, but everybody knows it's coming in a big way. But Lightning Network is the thing. It is essentially Bitcoin's iPhone moment. It is the catalyst that takes Bitcoin to the next level. And people will wake up to this very soon here, and the industry has already woken up to it, but the markets are beginning to see companies like ours that are engaging in it and seeing great potential because it has explosive growth written all over it. So the Lightning Network itself is growing at triple digits. Grew 212% last year. It's accelerating even faster this year. More and more companies getting into the space, more channels, more Bitcoin on the network, more transactions happening across the network, which means there's more fees to be earned. And so this is a high growth network that we're a part of, and our goal is to continue to get a big footprint within the network and let the network growth carry us up faster than anything else. We are the world's first publicly traded Bitcoin Lightning Network company. Others will follow because this is a mega trend within tech itself. So our strategy, we have a platform as a service. We make it very easy for companies to get onto the Lightning Network. We charge them for this as a monthly hosting fee. However, what we actually get from them, we connect them to the Lightning Network, and we're able to help route their transactions, and for doing so we get paid fees. So our actual upside is on the routing and on the transaction volume, not on the hosting. Our network service provider, we're connected to some key wallets within the space and other providers where we have our 150 Bitcoin on our balance sheet, and we actually use those Bitcoin to provide liquidity on the network where we actually are paid fees in Bitcoin itself. So we continue to push down that. We have Bitcoin, of course, as a treasury asset, and we effectively use it on the network. This is very important for us because as a company, we will continue to add Bitcoin to our treasury. We're going to continue to add Bitcoin to our balance sheet. But because we actually have a real use case for Bitcoin by effectively staking it and providing liquidity on the Lightning Network, we have the ability to deal with the regulators and the exchanges who have asked, why were you putting so much Bitcoin on our balance sheet? Are we trying to become an ETF or another MicroStrategy? We are not. We actually have a real use case for it. So a large part of what we raise goes into Bitcoin as that asset, and the rest towards growing our platform and continue to generate fees. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our platform, B2B and our B2C. On the one side, we have our platform as a service. This is the LSP. This is a platform that's taken some time to build. It allows companies to get onto the Lightning Network, integrate an API into their own systems so that they can have integration with the Lightning Network, or they can use our web-based portal. We have a non-custodial platform set up for them, and it makes it, we have customers starting to onboard and integrate it. Once they're integrated into our system, yes, we charge hosting fees, but we're really actually after the routing of transactions for it. So exchanges, you're going to hear right now, Kraken, major exchange in the space, just announced accepting deposits and withdrawals by Lightning Network itself. Bitfinex takes deposit by Lightning Network itself. You're going to see many, many more exchanges. You're going to have to accept it because it allows for immediate deposit and withdrawals over Bitcoin for very, very quickly. On the right, on the coin curve side, we have a way to buy and sell Bitcoin. It's done about $1 million in revenue over the last 12 months. We have integration of Lightning Network going on there. That's a lovely little platform. And we continue to focus everything towards the Lightning Network itself, because the Lightning Network is the explosive growth, and it is the one thing that is growing at huge rates, and it's coming out of the scene very quickly. So, at the start, we talked about the Lightning Network itself. So the Lightning Network, we talked about it comprising of nodes and channels. Sounds really strange. What is nodes and channels? So a node is just simply a computer or server running somewhere in the world that runs the open source Lightning Network software. Anybody can run it. And you can create channels. So we can create channels amongst each other, and we can transact 1 million transactions in the course of a day. At the end of the day, we can close those channels, send the Bitcoin back to the main network as one transaction only, or we could choose to leave the Bitcoin on the network. There are thousands of nodes being deployed around the world, and there are tens of thousands of channels being opened up around the world to allow transactions to go from point to point globally and find where they need to go. And in order to do that, you need routing nodes. So what does Liquid do? We have routing nodes within the space. And I see on the side that we have Italy, Indonesia, Germany. We just announced India, where we're deploying our Bitcoin and creating routing nodes that allow you that are well connected to other channels and nodes around the world. So transactions actually pass through parts of our network. Any transaction that passes to the portion of our network, we charge a fee in Bitcoin for. And we just recently announced that in effectively the last 90 days this quarter, we've hit 10,000 transactions forwarded, climbing at a very quick rate, and we intend to deploy another, we have 10 deployed now, we're climbing to 24 points around the world, and we're going to continue to put more Bitcoin liquidity on there and become the dominant player of liquidity and routing and earning fees and Bitcoin fees off of that. So this is a mega trend for us, and our goal is to keep that footprint as big as possible, very much a Silicon Valley model, and let the growth of the network, which is growing at astronomical rates, carry us up faster than anything else possibly could. Fees are climbing on the network too. We've seen fees in the past. Bitcoin network fees went up in the first few years over 10,000%. We're seeing the same kind of fee structure come back in the Lightning Network, meaning there's more revenue to be had. But not just revenue, there's extremely high transaction volume at our doorstep, and forecasted by Arcane Research by 2030 to hit 364 trillion transactions on the network. And we know that's already continued to accelerate into that end of that further, and we want to make sure we have our flag planted and we can continue to earn fees by having a global presence. Now, where are we going with all of this down the line? is within our platform right now. We have it built, but we haven't deployed it. We want to share in the yield. We're earning yield off of off the Bitcoin on our network. We have our nodes. We also know that there's companies that have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and they need to be earning yield off it as well. So we're planning, and we've already built portions of it, and we know we have to deal with the regulatory aspect, but the ability for companies to actually deposit their Bitcoin on our network and share in the yield and earn the fees off of the network by helping provide liquidity. So this becomes a yield-sharing, effectively decentralized finance product, but effectively for Bitcoin staking and Bitcoin only. This is something we're going to continue to work on the second half of the year. We know we have regulatory compliance things we'll have to work through on it, but we are familiar with those aspects of it. So our success metrics, very straightforward. Number of nodes around the world, number of channels. We want lots of connectivity. We want everyone to connect with us because we have stable nodes, lots of liquidity, lots of connectivity, because that translates into number 2, transaction volume. 3, brand recognition. We want people to know we are a trusted LSP. We are the ones that you want to connect with. Your transactions will get to where they need to go. And that means more transaction volume. And certainly, we want more Bitcoin on our balance sheet. Continue to rise from 150. We want to keep marching it upwards so we can not only have it on our balance sheet, but put it to work to earn more fees off of the network. Now, a little bit about myself. So I've been in tech for a long time, for 20, 25 years. And I've also been in the Bitcoin space since 2012. My former company, which I'm the principal founder of, it's a big digital assets, a BBKCF. You guys can look that up. Hit $1 billion market cap last year, raised $100 million. It owns one of Canada's largest fully regulated exchanges. Also owns compliance company and a number of other assets. So we've had success there. The team has had great success there, and we're taking that success and we're bringing it towards Liquid and all of our knowledge and within the space. Other members of the team have worked with me at BIGG before. They're also key people within the industry, such as Dean Sutton. He's the co-founder of WonderFi, which is WNDR, and Albert Shmagelski, who we call the professor, who's our Chief Technology Officer, worked for me at BIGG as well. So we've brought other team members have followed along to be part of the industry. So as a public company, we're going to follow some of the strategies that made us very successful at BIGG. We're going to continue to build out our platform that has the growth of Bitcoin and the growth of the Lightning Network as the major catalyst to drive it forward faster than we could ever possibly do. So make our market share as big as we can, and then use our position in the marketplace to bolt on other strategic acquisitions. So back at my time at BIGG, we bolted on Netcoins. We had made some other things going on there, and it's the same kind of market share plan that we're going to continue to do as we grow the company aggressively in this space. So why invest in Liquid? What do you get from it? Well, you get exposure to Bitcoin as an asset. So we have Bitcoin on our balance sheet. We're using it, putting it to work, earning more Bitcoin. We want to continue to add to it, so you get Bitcoin as an exposure. And you get exposure to the Lightning Network. We're the only public company in the world who actually does Lightning Network stuff. But I do know more that are coming. I know more that are going public, and it's going to become becoming a mega trend. And you also get exposure to fintech and payments, because we ultimately are fintech and payment infrastructure provider and that entire industry. Currently, we're located in Vancouver, which is because that's where we live. But we do intend to open an office in San Francisco because we need to be a Silicon Valley company, because that's where the action is. And I'll stop there, and if there's any questions you have, whether it be about Liquid or Bitcoin itself, happy to answer them all. So, hi, how you doing?
Hi, I was looking for you and I was in the wrong room.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, you are in Canada, right?
Correct.
You are regulated in all the crypto
Yes.
assets.
Correct.
Not the currencies assets. And as a fintech also, you are you allow people like invest in another more solid and tangible assets like gold and things that have.
All right, so the question is, do we allow people to invest in other tangible assets? So our platform, we have the coin curve that lets you buy Bitcoin, and we have our other platform which lets you participate in the Lightning Network. So from that perspective, we're strictly Bitcoin. We have no other assets that we let people deal with on our system. No gold, no silver, or anything else. We like those, but there are other exchanges that deal with that, but we're very specific to Bitcoin, Lightning Network, and payments. Okay?
Because in Canada it's valid to
Right, yes, exactly. There's regulated exchanges in Canada.
It's not regulated, it can be addicted, it's not taxable, so it works.
Right, yes, and Canada has 3 or 4 exchanges that are now licensed and regulated over the last year, and I'm very familiar with that. I was actually part of that movement there. It took us 2 years and a lot of money and a lot of grief, but we are a compliance company, so working with regulators, we were able to help get that over the line, and so that. Right. Yeah, it's that's correct. All right. Any other questions? Anybody have a question about Bitcoin itself?
I have a question on this is acquisition strategy. Regarding that, I don't know if you guys are still open any acquisitions with you, obviously it's a early company, so you guys are going to be growing. So if there's any acquisitions in play or the pipeline is there, what kind of strategy?
Right. So the question is, our acquisition strategy, what kind of companies are we looking for? And so we are looking for high growth, high transaction volume companies within the Lightning Network space. We want to continue to push the one narrative. Our transaction volume is all that matters to us because that's where we earn our fees. And we have discussions ongoing, of course, like all companies do. And when something comes up, we'll hopefully announce it at that time. But certainly that's one of the reasons we liked Netcoins at the time. I'm going to buy past history because it was one of these models where you add the fuel to it and you just have you can have this rapid growth. Same concept here where we want a front-facing, consumer-facing potential wallet or other kind of solution that can ride on our infrastructure and help us benefit by driving the transaction volume. I don't even know what time it is, but we'll just keep, how much time do I have? 10 minutes? 13 more minutes, okay. That's fine. Now, somebody must have questions about Bitcoin itself, right? So, I recommend, so yeah, there's lots of, hi, welcome. There's lots of, there's lots of crypto out there. I'm a bit of a Bitcoin maximalist in this sense. So the question is, how many cryptos are out there? What do you kind of recommend? Right. Bitcoin is the anchor to the industry, right? It's the one that matters. There are others there. I'm not one of these maximalists that looks at it and says, you know what, all other cryptos, it's only Bitcoin or nothing. But in terms of money and trust and being the layer of trust and the extension of the internet we talked about at the beginning, Bitcoin is that protocol. And it actually gets down to a very interesting question that people are like, why does Bitcoin have value? Like, why does it have value? Right? And so, I look back from my tech career of why it has value. Excuse me. And so we get down to that same question we asked at the beginning, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a trust protocol first and foremost. Money and payments is its massive first use case, like communication and email was the first use case of TCP/IP, the communication protocol of the internet. And this gets down to why does it have value? So this gets down to why does a protocol have value? So we look at the internet itself, and I remember this because I lived through this in the 90s. I was much younger and involved in all of that for a long time. And the internet's made up of 7 technology layers. I call it the Osi Technology Stack. It's a big long name that just simply means that these layers of technology are literally the plumbing of the internet. You're using it right now. Bitcoin fits in there as layer 8 to the stack here, the trust layer that we tried to do in the 90s and all this stuff, failed and failed and failed, and Bitcoin solved that problem. It solved the ability to create trust between 2 anonymous people without a third-party intermediary, and you could do, and the network would actually handle all of that for you. In fact, when Bitcoin first came out, they didn't call it a blockchain, it was called time chain, because you could digitally timestamp anything. So we look at Bitcoin as a trust protocol first and foremost as to why it has value. So when you look at that OSI stack we talked about, the 7 layers, that back in 1998, they said it was worth $180 billion. In other words, the plumbing of the internet itself, $180 billion. You fast forward to 2004, Google goes public. We think the internet's worth between $2 and $3 trillion. By 2010, it's somewhere like $20 trillion. And now, what is the value of the internet? It's an unfathomable number, right? That original 7 layers with the TCP/IP protocol, it's been unlocked over that time. It's worth an unfathomable number. When we look at Bitcoin as a trust protocol, and following that, say, an extension and continuation of the revolution of the internet, you can start to understand why it has value. The value of a protocol is hard to wrap your mind around, but when it hits an inflection point, you'll never look back. And in 10 years from now, people are going to start to realize that this is just a continuation of the internet. This is all it is. And now you can actually buy the gas that rides across there to allow for trust on the world, and that trust includes money, of course. But
And I mean, like, how can I transfer one Bitcoin back to dollars?
well, yeah, well that's so the question is, how can I transfer one Bitcoin back to another currency, right? Fiat currency. Well, in some cases you may not want to because the Bitcoin's portable, but if you need to transfer it back, there's a lot of exchanges and what have you that are going to, force you to, they're going to ask for your information and they'll convert it back to you just like you're converting Canadian dollars to US dollars or whatever it may be. But yeah, Bitcoin has lots of FX brokers, tons of foreign exchange brokers that do it. There's tons of places you can do it in Canada, United States, direct, that allow you to do that. But what's coming is because of Lightning Network and where it's going is a lot of people are going to keep stuff in Bitcoin because you can now transact in it rapidly and you can send it all over the world very, very quickly. And we're seeing that remittances to El Salvador, other kinds of countries are taking it up because you now have transaction speed with the security and what have you. And we look at the volatility of Bitcoin, but ultimately the volatility is relative to different currencies. Yes, the US dollar is the currency that we peg it against in terms of volatility, but other currencies are more volatile than that. But why is there volatility in it? Because it's the birth of a new technology. But that technology has already made rapid gains and the values continue to be unlocked in it, and the maturity of the industry is now allowing it to go to the next phase. So the next 10 years of Bitcoin, now in 2030, people are going to be very shocked. It reminds me of I remember talking to people about the internet and how it's going to change communication and letters. People are like, why would I want to use email? I remember this. Get out of my office. I want to use the fax machine, right? And sure enough, of course, that changed very quickly, and Bitcoin is here. It's going to change how trust, payments, digital signatures, everything is going to be changed because we've continuation of the internet itself. I can talk to you afterwards if you have other questions, sure.
Yeah, well, the next one will be, since it's technology and things happen, like a COVID, what if, for example, it's a crazy thing, like, okay, Putin coerced one of the astronauts to turn down a couple satellites that is going to affect all the technology. Where does it become there? Where my money went?
In that case, where's your digital money? Only cash survives at that point in gold. So I'm not one of these that says cash is going to go away, and here's the reason why. Cash will go away, it will continue to, depending on the society, but really we look at internet penetration around the world. So in the United States, it's 98, 99%. It's very high up there. Norway is extremely high up. There's digital payments. It's taking over. Bitcoin's taking over. But you have other places in Africa where it's 46, 47%. So the idea that Bitcoin's going to simply supplant cash and be done with it, that's a misnomer. A much more of a Aristotle, the golden mean, where things are probably going to be more down the middle, and the cash will have its place, but Bitcoin will still have its place as well in the digital era. And that's really what it's about. We're moving forward to the digital age. And well, then the whole internet's down and we got big problems. Big problems, right? Yeah, absolutely, right? So I guess at that point we'll be trading seashells. But yeah, for sure. No, can you imagine not having the internet during COVID? We've been back to fax machines and telephones. So, I mean, our communication lines are important, but in terms of network adoption of currencies, digital payments itself, not just Bitcoin, it is reliant upon the growth of 5G, 6G internet around the world, because not every place has deep penetration of the internet. It's only halfway there. And certain areas, because you don't even have electricity and stuff, fiat paper money makes sense. But when you get to places where you have things are much more mature and brought along, then it's exactly 100%. We are very reliant on technology, no question there. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Good question, though. I like it. All right. Thank you. Appreciate the time. If anyone has any other questions, you can come find me. I'm happy to sit with you, all right? What's a big... I have no idea.